Alrighty, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Let's Talk About This Way. As you can see, things are a little different this week. Usually on other weeks, we have guests on and we're usually in my home studio. This week, we're doing things a little differently, and it's all part of the journey. It's what I mentioned in my first episode. I had talked about wanting people who are following this podcast to see the journey I'm doing, right? So we're starting from my own studio, from scratch, without the best lighting, as many of you have told me, to making investments in that lighting. So I'm hoping these next couple of episodes later this month, you'll be able to see that. And if not, well, then I got some work to do on the lighting. Anyways, quick shout out real quick to always the band Hannah from Simi Valley, California. You guys are awesome. Thank you again for letting me use your music. And another shout out to my friend Zeke here at XYZ Studios, letting me record this podcast here today. This is an amazing setup. This is beautiful. I'm sure some of you are going to see this and go ahead and message me and be like, hey, can you just start doing all your podcasts here? In time, we'll kind of see how the home studio is doing. But thank you guys very much for this. So here we go. We're doing this Q&A episode this week. For some asking why we're taking time away from the guests, this is more so to check in with you guys. Over the last couple of weeks, I've gotten a lot of questions. I've gotten a lot of people to reach out to me asking, hey, how are you feeling about the podcast? Ooh, what if you did this with the podcast? Oh, why the band Hannah? So many of these questions that made me think this would be a really good time to check in with you guys. To answer some of the questions officially now on an episode that you guys have for me. And just to see if there's any insight that you guys could also offer me moving forward, right? I was really surprised by the amount of questions that came in, and I'm so thankful for the support that you guys have. It meant a lot to me to see the level of engagement I had from the posts that I put on Instagram about the questions to ask for this episode. In fact, I told my wife, I said, I don't know how much engagement I'm going to get, so I'm going to post this question form twice, and hoping that in 2 days when I post this, there'll be enough questions for this episode. I was pretty blown away with the amount of questions I got in those 2 days, and I'm going to try to answer them all in this one episode. I think I can do it. I want to wrap this up in an hour, so we'll get to it here pretty soon, but I just can't thank you guys enough for showing the support and encouragement you guys have had for me in this little amount of time that I've started this podcast. I'm really happy about it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So with that being said, let's dive into the Q&A episode. Got all the questions here on my phone. First question, what made you want to do a podcast? Well, in my first episode, and to some who have heard me talk about it before this all came out, I wanted a creative outlet for myself, but something that meant of importance to me. I didn't just want to go do something because I'm seeing it online. I'm like, oh, I'm going to try this out, or, oh, hey, my buddy's doing this, I'm going to do that, right? I have a lot of friends who are starting their own businesses, which is amazing, starting their own clothing brand, right? And I have a good friend of mine who's starting their own app, which I'm sure you guys have heard plenty of times before, good old Herbie. So with seeing so many people doing their own thing, I really wanted to take a dive into something that shows who I am and something that is me. So I decided this was something that I have thought about for some time, and I thought finally I'm going to shoot for it. And this has been a great experience so far, and it's more and more each week when I do these episodes, assuring me that I made the right decision. So I'm doing this podcast for me. It's a creative journey for me, a creative outlet, and something now that I can share with others. And the importance behind what I'm doing on this podcast, I think even bolsters more how happy I am with doing this. So that's why I'm doing the podcast. All right, next question here. What do you think makes your podcast unique? Why is it important to you? That's a great question. This podcast is an extension of myself. It's who I am, right? I love networking with people. I love making new friends. I love connecting new friends to old friends. I love hearing people's stories. So when you're listening to this podcast and you're seeing this journey unfold, as it's getting better and better, I hope, each week, and more things are becoming better with the editing and fine-tuning and all that, I hope you guys can see how important this has been to me and the work that I put into it, right? I want this podcast to reflect who I am. I want people to see how important these stories are, the people that I connect with and the people that I network with. And I want them to see how great it can be to relate to someone unexpectedly. There's a platform for so many celebrities and athletes out there. It's an amazing thing. We get to hear their stories and their accomplishments, and we can have a bit of a relation to that, right? But what about the everyday people? What about people like you and I? The people who go to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or have a certain, schedule that may be different, but some of the people that don't get that platform, some amazing people out there in this world that don't get to talk about what they do and how they got there. I think we'd be so surprised how much we can relate to some of these people that come on the show. But not just the show, but the people just out there. So that's why I'm doing the show. That's why it's important to me. It's who I am. I want to show people off to the world. I want to show people different stories and different accounts that could be of relevance to them, whether it's a networking opportunity, whether it's just the perspective that you guys get out of it. I think it's huge. I think it's so huge for people to be able to see that. So what's so unique about it and why it's so important to me? Because it's me. This podcast is me. This is an extension of myself. And you're getting to see how much I truly love interacting with people and being able to share those people with the listeners and viewers out there. I hope that wraps that question up. Next question. Is any of your shows scripted? Do you prep interviewees with any questions? The show's not scripted. I do have a guideline that I will send out to the people that come on this show just to kind of go over a few things that they should expect, a little bit of the flow of the show. But even in that guideline, I talk about none of this is going to be in order. We're just going to see how the conversation flows, right? That's what's important to me. I want you guys to feel the human, raw, personal touch on this, where it's just two people having a conversation. I'm not trying to make any edits. I don't want to spend time doing that kind of stuff. I just want every raw emotion and thought out there when we're talking. Because that's what it should be. It should be a conversation between two individuals and going over what they're passionate about and how others can be interested in that, right? Or engage in that. So no script. It's literally casual conversation. And I try to stay away from edits because I want everyone to see how much of a human approach is taken to this podcast and what I do. All right. How do you plan to grow your podcast audience? Great question. I'll tell you right now, my main thing for this podcast is just putting it out there. I'm fine-tuning a couple things and I'm learning on the go, but I'm not so engaged right now on growing it big time. I'm not going aggressive with it, right? I'm just putting things out there. My whole thing is just doing the show. It brings me happiness. It brings me a lot of joy, and it's a passion for me. It's a passion project, right? It's my thing, and I love having the people on it. So that's where my main focus is at. Now, you'll see me over the weeks put out more stuff on Instagram, even getting a TikTok, which I never thought I was going to do a TikTok. It just wasn't for me, but I figured, hey, that's how people are going to see videos and shorts and clips, so I'll start doing that more. And YouTube. And I'll put some YouTube shorts out there. And just mainly for people to know the show's out there. That's what I would like. I would like people to know, hey, the show's out there. It's a great resource for people to learn about different jobs, different journeys, right? And how they can relate to these people. And a wonderful networking opportunity for some who come on the show and for the viewers and the listeners. So I guess for that purpose, I would go ahead. I'm doing that. But if you're asking, are you going to try to really grow this huge? Are you going to try to pay for promotions and whatnot and out there to get the show big? That's not really my concern right now. My concern is just putting it out there for people to hear. So that's how I guess I'll be growing the audience right now, probably an organic step. How has your time management been with the podcast, work, and your personal life? I'll be very real with you guys. I thought I had a good grasp on it in the very beginning of it, and lately it's been a little tougher. And I know that really revolves around who I am as an individual and my work ethic. I take a lot of pride in the work that I do. And so it didn't really surprise me that I started putting a lot of pressure on myself with this podcast too. Don't get me wrong, I love this podcast. I love what I'm doing. And it's been really fun. And I'm a big gamer, so usually I'd be playing video games, and now I'm spending more time doing this stuff off my free time if I'm not hanging out with my wife, right, or friends. But more and more, I'd find myself stressing out a little bit on timelines and when I wanted to post some things, making sure the edits looked great. And it wasn't just for myself, but I want the people who are sharing their stories to feel that this captures the best quality of them too. They're taking their time out of the day to come be on the show, right? Share their stories, be vulnerable with me, be vulnerable with you guys. And the least I could do is give them the best amount of effort I can put into their video and audio for the episode. I want them to be proud of it because if they're proud of it, I'm proud of it. If they're happy, I'm happy. And I just want to put as close, I guess, perfection on the episode as I can. And so there's been quite a bit of stress on it. And thankfully, I have a really supportive wife who's just told me, hey, like, don't forget why you're doing this, though, because it makes ultimately you happy and it's your creative outlet. It's your project. And so I appreciate you a ton, Kelly, because that really hit home with me this week. And going into this episode made me feel a lot better. So there might be weeks where, maybe the release is delayed a little bit, and that's okay because it's a journey of this podcast and it's not perfect. So I can guarantee that some of you listening and watching me right now are probably thinking, oh yeah, man, don't stress about that. We're happy when an episode comes out. We're all about it. It's not going to change how you guys feel about this. So thank you guys. And to my wife, thank you so much for just keeping me level-headed on this. So it's getting better. It's going to get better now. But it was doing great in the beginning, kind of got tough, and we're back on track. So I'm excited with this just new feeling and this new perspective and just being reminded what this is all really about, to be tackling now the future much better with time management and the feelings I feel towards it. So there you go, real scope of how that question was. For the people that don't listen to podcasts, what would you say to them and why should they listen to your show? Had a great conversation with my buddy Alex about this. And I guess this can apply even to streaming too. But for this purpose, we'll focus mainly on the podcast aspect. Podcasts are still relatively new side of entertainment. We've had TV shows, movies, radio talk shows, which very similar, right? Except the video is more on the aspect of the podcast, depending on what podcast you run. Movies, right? So a podcast is a form of entertainment now that's getting bigger and bigger. And it's, in my opinion, much cooler because this is anyone who can do this, right? You don't have to be contract with some big studio to run your own show, right? You guys can do your own thing. You guys could put it out there in the world and you never know what can happen. Whether it's something that brings you joy or the people that you've targeted in the audience joy, and that's that, great. If it blows up, amazing, right? You get paid to do something that you love doing. But a podcast is so cool because you can get so many different perspectives from that alone. Because there's so many different personalities and variances of people out there. I used to be a big person in listening to music all the time. I still do. I listen to music a lot. Almost in everything I do, I listen to music. Hence why there's music in this podcast. Hence why I've got a vision a little later on that I'll talk with you more about musicians coming on eventually at some point. And some that I have in mind. People who are just starting off and want to talk about their journey about how they're going to continue doing that, right? I don't have any big time musicians on the dock, if that's what you're wondering. If we do have one, amazing. But with a podcast or with anything you do, a podcast is easy to put on and it's great background noise. It's great stuff to be listening to while you're doing something. In fact, I now listen more to podcasts than I do music when I do things. If I'm at the gym, it's even starting to get to that point, right? Where I'm listening to podcasts sometimes while I'm stretching. Now, while I'm lifting and stuff, that's still going to be some pretty heavy metal music. That's what gets me going. But if I'm on the treadmill, if I'm going for a while, I'm going for a run, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm getting something informational, right? Or I might be getting something emotional that feeds the emotional side of my brain, right? Something where I can laugh and stuff and kind of just escape whatever I'm doing, just escape to that, to get some good laughs. Or I'm getting some really cool, valuable information from some guests on the show or the person who hosts the show who has a whole different side of information that I've never heard. So podcasts are really cool. And the biggest one that I know for sure that people do is on their commute to work. If you're one of those people that commute to work, put on a podcast. I love you put mine on, but put on a podcast. I'm telling you, you get some really cool stuff from hearing it. So to answer that question, if you don't listen to a podcast, try it out. There's some really good ones out there and see how it is for you. But I think it's great because it gives you the opportunity to learn some new information out there in the world and get some fresh perspectives. And we only get one life in this world, so why not? Why wouldn't you want to hear something new? Right? All right, next question. We're moving along here. Okay. Yo, you really in a bowling league on Tuesday nights? LOL. I don't think the LOL had to be necessary in that, but I get it. Some people aren't really into bowling. Yes, I am in a bowling league. I actually, seeing that, had to put it in my post for this week's announcement of the episode because I'm just out of any question. You're really going to verify whether I go bowling on Tuesday nights. Yes, I'm in a men's bowling, or not a men's bowling, but a rec bowling league on Tuesday nights. It's a lot of fun. I have a blast. And if you haven't tried it, you guys should go for it. The whole charade. Yep, I do have a bowling jersey too. We're known as Bologna. So for anyone that has seen any stories on my own Instagram about that, please feel free to verify for the person that asks the question. Next one. Who has been your favorite person interviewing so far? Ooh. Okay. We're not going to ruffle some feathers here. I want to say this first and foremost. Anyone who's been on the show, thank you so much. Your story's amazing. I have loved every aspect of shooting an episode with you guys. And as much as I want to say I don't have a favorite, right? Because all the stories are awesome. And how do you even value that? Or how do you rank that, right? And now you as listeners and the audience, you guys might have your own favorite ones. Great. They're all technically my favorites. But for the sake of this question, I do want to answer. I don't want to give you a general answer. If I were to choose one, I would go with Elena Bishop's episode. And the reason being is because I've had this amazing and unique opportunity, as for any of you who've heard the episode, and I didn't share this as much with anyone, and I really let her be the one to explain it or talk about it. It's just not for me to talk about. It's her aspect of her life, and I felt really special honored that she shared it on the show. But with Elena, I had the opportunity to see her many years ago when I used to work at a mental health center in a rehabilitation program from where she was at prior to her sobriety. And I've had this, it's been amazing. I can't put it so much into words to be able to see her thrive and prosper over the years. And she's 7 years sober, and it's been really cool. And doing that episode really made me feel these feelings of just how much someone can accomplish. If you really put your mind to something and you feel so strongly about something that you want in your life, you can get it done. That episode really got me fired up and really motivated me again to realize that we're capable of doing anything in this life, even one of the hardest things in life. And in this instance, that was addiction. And she's killing it. She is absolutely killing it in this life, and I get to witness that. I got to be a part of that journey. The world works in many interesting ways. Many interesting ways. And if you haven't put it together, I'm pretty sure she's talked about it, but she's my sister-in-law. So she's family. And family means the world to me. So for you, Elena, who's watching this, I love you a ton, and I have so much respect for you, and I'm so proud of you. And for any of the viewers who have been on the show, come on. You can see why that's my favorite one, if I had to put a favorite. But I love all you guys. You guys are amazing, and the crowd has enjoyed you as well. Some really good feedback, but for that question, I would want to give you a direct answer on that. And so I'm really excited to see who else comes on the show, but that is my favorite one so far just because I got to be part of such a unique and amazing journey. All right. If you were to have your hero on the podcast, who would that be and why? Okay, wow, we're getting some deep questions here. Or maybe I'm just me making it deep. My hero is my dad. And it's been like that my entire life. Not to pull a Tom Brady moment here, right? But if any of you, for any of you who are out there watching, if you know me really well, you know that my dad's everything to me. Both my parents were so amazing to me growing up, but my dad was one that I really looked up to. I think as young boys, when we were blessed to have a father figure in our lives and a good one, it's an amazing experience to see what you want to grow up into. My dad was the first idea of what it meant to be a man of the family, how to provide for your family, and how to have a kind heart doing it. I feel as we get older, we really value the times with our parents more and more. And over the years, and I'm not even surprised, more and more my dad shows me why he's my hero. He is literally who I'd love to become one day when I start getting to that age and continue to be the person that he is. I don't fall far from the tree from my dad. If you haven't met my dad yet, oh man, he's going to be on this show. I'm going to make it happen. I'd love for the world to see who my father is and what kind of person he is. He is a very outgoing guy, always high-spirited, good energy, and man, he can connect with anyone, absolutely anyone. You know, the amount of times he runs a restaurant back home in my hometown of Palmdale, California. And I have a couple buddies, and that's where I'm from. I had a couple buddies who stayed out there after graduation who've gotten to see my dad at the restaurant that he runs. And it's really cool. Randomly, I'll get some texts and they'll be like, hey, just bumped into your dad. I hope all is well. I took a shot at tequila with him. That's a signature thing. If you guys don't know, my dad will always greet you with a shot of tequila. And it happens to be both of our favorite type of liquor. But he's just always been about networking and making friendships. And even sometimes when those friendships could burn him, never got tainted to that and continued being who he is. If I grow to be half the character of my father, it would have been a big accomplishment. He's just an amazing man. And so that is who my hero is, and that's who I'd love to have on the podcast, which we're going to make happen. And I'll give him the benefit of giving him a nice studio podcast because he always likes to look good in front of the camera. So, Dad, I love you. Thanks for always being my hero, and we're going to get him on the show. All right. Would you ever do a solo podcast where you would talk about daily stuff in the world? I don't know about that. I really love what I'm doing now, and it really hits on the people side of me, getting to be around people, get to share their stories, and really develop a relationship with them and show that with other people. So I don't really know if I want to cover daily stuff. Maybe. I don't know. I never say never to anything, but it's just not something I really thought about. Also, that probably put a lot more time and effort in doing this, and I still have a full-time job, so I don't think I could do that. If this ever was just my full-time job, amazing, sure, why not, right? But for now, this is what I'm going to focus on, is just different people's journeys and how they can relate to others and sharing their stories. So we'll stick with that. All right. Oh, who is your dream guest to have on the show and why? Okay, well, the hero is different from the dream. So yeah, this isn't really the same question. Dream guest to have on the show. Let's go with Dave Grohl, singer of the Foo Fighters. That dude is awesome. He just exudes this like very genuine spirit of just someone who's kind, friendly, outgoing, and just shows a lot of appreciation to all of his fans and the people that he has listening to him. Anytime I've seen a Dave Grohl interview or I've seen him on stage, I've seen him live a couple times now with the Foo Fighters, which is my favorite band. He just seems so genuine, right? I feel that as individuals, some people are really good at being able to read someone and be like, yeah, that person's being super fake, or like, what a facade this person's putting on. Not Dave Grohl. And I hope I'm not wrong. I really hope I'm not wrong because that guy is so cool. I love listening to him. I love listening to their music, a lot of the Foo Fighters music, and even some with Nirvana, because I'm sure if you don't know, he was also the drummer of Nirvana and probably the best drummer out in the world. I still stand by that. But a lot of their music has done a lot of good things for me in my life and things that I can relate to. And so I just hold a special place in my heart for that. So dream guest, Dave Grohl. I'm sure he'd be a blast to have on the show and probably have some interesting stories too, right? And how he could carry along still doing what he does, losing a couple of his best friends, right? Kurt Cobain, Taylor Hawkins. It's insane. And yet he's still doing it. He's still putting on a great show. He's still connecting with fans. He's showing a lot of love and gratitude for what he does. That sounds like someone I'd love to have on the show, and personally would love to be a friend of. So that's my dream guest and why. Would you ever have a co-host? Great question. I don't think so. And only because when there's just two people talking, there's less of a distraction, and I don't want to call it chaos, but that's the best word that comes to mind right now, a little less chaos, right? When you have three people, you now have three individuals who are looking at each other when to interject, when to talk, which isn't an issue. It's not a bad problem, but for the sake of what I'm doing on this show and this podcast and how I'm connecting with another individual and getting them to talk about their life, engage in their story, and share with others, I think it's just best formatted for two people, myself and the person I'm bringing on, right? Now, I will say this. There's been some ideas been floating around. I've been talking with people about doing different alterations of the show where we might have two or three people actually come on and talk about maybe the business they've started or this organization they started and how that's going. That's later down the road, though. And so for the sake of just like, let's talk about this podcast, right? That would be a whole different variation of another show. This is going to be just focused on two people. So I don't know if that was just for a question, just in curiosity, or if you were hoping to try to land a co-host gig with me. Flattered, but we're going to keep it to one person. Do you think the podcast will ever blow up? Or do you think it has potential to? I really don't know. In this day and age, we have no idea what happens. If it does, I'm not going to complain. That's amazing. If we get some sponsors and however that works, I'm still learning that world. And it's not like I have my focus on that either. So when I say learning, like bits and pieces come in, great. I don't know how the whole how pay happens for podcasts. I imagine sponsorships and ads and whatnot. But if it were to blow up and I can just do this full time, oh man, this would be amazing. I'd love it. I would fully love it, but I just don't know. You never know. And the real important time of the show right now is just getting many people on that I want to have a conversation with, learn their stories, and share it with you guys. And I'm happy doing that. So I mentioned this before. If I don't gain a dime ever from this show, who cares? As long as I enjoy it and I'm happy doing it, that's what matters to me. So do I think this will blow up? I have no clue. Things can go viral. Who knows? Do I really care if it blows up or not? No. Does it have the potential to blow up? I would hope so. We're sharing some really important stories here. We're really showing different people's life paths, people's stories and accounts that others would never have the ability to hear that because there's not a platform for it, or they haven't engaged the people on the show on another platform yet. Why not give them this opportunity? This is an amazing platform to do that, right? So biased, yeah, I would say it has a potential to because there's some amazing people that I feel I'm bringing on that have some great things to share with the world and whoever's listening. Potential, yes. Do I know? No, don't care. Happy doing this, and that's enough for me. And I hope that's enough for you guys as well. Okay, here we go. We're going great with these questions. Okay. Oh, you know what? I had to add this question in because this cracked me up yesterday and got me a little scared. So the question is, okay, how many people did you get with that April Fool's post of having Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino on the show? I was beyond surprised how many people I got to believe that, especially the way I did it. I made it like a short video. So in that video, you'll see in the beginning my podcast logo and then the guest announced, right? Bobby Lee, Andrew Santino. I even tagged the Bad Friends podcast Instagram handle just to make it seem authentic. And those guys are so popular. They're famous. They're not going to look at my post and I even bother with it. That was my mindset. So when I did that, I also at the very end of it, and I even say that in the post, I say, hey, be sure to wait till the end of the clip to see their message to me about being on the show. And then if you guys ever watch SpongeBob, there is an April Fool's episode where he's fooling everyone and he's like, April Fools. Literally what happened in that post. But I guess not a lot of people waited to the end. And so they saw that and just were like, oh my God, like, how did you do this? Like, what the, like, how did you get these two on? Is it blowing up? Is this what's really happening right now? So it got a lot of good laughs out of me. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a little worried here. I really don't hope that people are thinking this, and one, I'm losing credibility. And then two, if they now see this, Bobby or Andrew with their podcast handle for the show, be like, whoa, this guy's putting out information that's not true. We're not going to be there. So I had to go ahead, and that's when I put the post like, hey, this is the actual announcement. Obviously, that was a joke, but there was a lot of people that I got. And it's funny, I was telling my wife this because I was starting to panic a little bit. I go, oh, man, like, what do I do if they reach out to me and they're like, hey, you can't be doing that? I don't want to feel like I'm over here trying to lie about things. It was just a joke. And if people know me, I overthink quite a bit. And she was telling me, she's like, it's fine, relax. Like, they'll see it as a joke. And I said, you know what? Right. Worst case scenario, they hit me up and they go, you can't do this. This is like clearly a lie. We don't want people getting the wrong idea, even though there's barely that many followers on my podcast Instagram, right? And then best case scenario, they see this and they go, you got me. I thought I overbooked on something. Hey, when do you want to be on the show? Or they come over here on my show. Most likely that they would ask me to be on their show if that were to go that route. So I had all these scenarios in my head, but that obviously didn't happen. And if somehow this gets to the ears of Bobby and Andrew, we'd love to have you on the show. Or I'd love to be on your guys' show. I feel like we'd have a good time together. If you guys haven't watched, it's the Bad Friends podcast I hold. It's hilarious. These guys have like the best banter in podcast right now, in my opinion. Which actually, you know what? I am going to dive into the story real quick because this is a pretty funny one. My friend Connor, shout out to my buddy Connor Henry out there in Cali, or Nevada now, sorry. He hit me up and he asked me, he goes, for a second, I thought, wow, he really did it. He probably got Bobby's phone number in Vegas and hit him up. And the reason he said that was last year we did our fantasy football draft in Vegas. And I stayed at my buddy's place, but we went through the Strip and we were at Park MGM. And I've always thought, I've seen a couple celebrities before, and my mindset's always been, I'll leave them alone, right? They just want to live their life. They're probably out doing something to just have their own time. I was never really the type to just go and, oh my gosh, hey, you're so-and-so. My name's Waylon. Can I take a picture, right? Like, you'd have to be of pretty high importance. Like, I'll probably do that Dave Grohl, just to let you guys know. Dave Grohl ever comes across and I'm near him, I'm probably going to ask for a picture, right? But usually, like, I don't really care for that. Like, do your own thing. That's a cool sighting. Now, this was interesting because as we're walking and going into Park MGM, I see Bobby Lee and I think a female comedian. I think we pointed out that she was a female comedian next to him, and they're walking. They're walking towards me and my buddy Connor. And I don't know what happened. But all of a sudden, I'm there, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's Bobby Lee. Okay, let's go ahead. We're walking. We're getting closer to each other. I can see them walking, coming closer to us. With every step, I'm thinking, all right, be cool, really chill. Hey, what's going on, Bobby? Big fan of your show, right? Or hey, love your comedy, man. And that's what the extent would be, right? If it got any further than that, cool. But I kid you not, I look at my friend Connor and go, oh my God, it's Bobby Lee. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, it's Bobby Lee. And then as they're approaching, I go, okay, we got it. We got the chill response. Hey, Bobby, love your comedy, man. Keep doing the great work you're doing. That's literally what I was hoping to say. I kid you not, guys. Without even thinking any further, as I'm about to be like, cool, this is what I've been thinking about. This is what I'm going to say. My body just reacts by itself. Bobby looks at me. He now knows, oh, this guy knows me. And it's probably some weird face I'm probably making me like, oh my God, I know this guy. Or I know of this guy. And before anything else, I literally said the words, oh my God, you're Bobby Lee. That was my reaction. Oh my God, you're Bobby Lee. And he just looks at me with this face like, what is wrong with this kid? Hey. And his friend, this woman that was next to him, oh my gosh, she looks at me and she just spot on mimics me. Oh my God, it's Bobby Lee. Probably not spot on, but she makes fun of it a little bit. And they both start laughing and they're dying of laughter walking past me and my buddy Connor. And Connor starts laughing a little bit too. And I go, okay, yeah, you know what? I deserve that one. I set him up. How do you not roast on someone when they do that? And so I tell that story just because in my head too, I'm thinking maybe this is redemption now if they do reach out to me and be like, hey, yeah, we actually met once. I made an absolute clown of myself. Anyways, we'll go to the next question here. I just thought I'd share that funny story. You know what? This question I figured I'd still keep because this is something I'm not surprised that my buddy asked of me. Not surprised at all that I'm asked about my time, the podcast and everything. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to throw in a whole different type of question in there. All right. As many of you know, if you haven't seen how my home studio is set up, now I have some grass, little vines, or not grass, but some plant vines that are dripping over some of my Los Angeles Rams stuff. Yes, I'm a diehard Rams fan. So this question goes ahead and addresses my fanhood of the Rams nation. Okay, great question here. Prime Steven Jackson or prime Todd Gurley? All right, I'm going to nerd out a little bit here, but I'm going to keep it quick because this is more about my journey with the podcast and what people have questions about that. All right, prime Steven Jackson or prime Todd Gurley? I love Steven Jackson. Steven Jackson was a workhorse. That guy was built like a bull. That man was part of the franchise in the worst losing seasons in franchise history, and he still stayed a Ram until the very end. But the majority of his career with the Rams, he was the sole offensive weapon once Holt and Bruce were gone. So I got a lot of appreciation for that man, and that man ran like a bull. He was trucking people, power running. You got zone, you got dive. I mean, he was looking for that contact. I love that type of running. Bruising, punishing, power football. So prime Steven Jackson was amazing. Prime Todd Gurley was probably going to be the best running back you would ever see in the NFL if he didn't have arthritis or the arthritis in his knees, which was super sad because I feel like we were robbed of some generational talent that was just going to break records all over in the NFL. So I'm going a little more deep in this than I should, but this is a bit of a tough one. Primetime Steven Jackson, character for the team, a team leader, and a punishing runner. But primetime Todd Gurley was probably going to be the best running back to have ever touched the football field should his career have lengthened and not been cut short. So I guess for the sake of this football team now with the Rams, I would have taken primetime Todd Gurley. Though, Steven Jackson, if you're hearing this, you are one of my all-time favorite Ram, if not my favorite all-time Ram. I got your jersey and a shadow box, and I got your rookie debut pristine card in that shadow box. So got a lot of appreciation for you, Steven Jackson. Let's go ahead and move to the next question before I nerd out more on Ram stuff. Do you listen to any podcasts yourself? If so, what are they? Yeah, I actually do. So I want to make sure I reach all this. The only one that I put notes on, just because I wanted everything to be fresh for me, something that I wanted to answer in live time. But this one I saw and I was like, I don't want to miss out on the podcast to listen to here because I want to make sure you guys know about them and you guys might be interested in hearing them too. And if any of those podcasters are listening to the show, thank you guys for putting out such great content. It's been awesome to listen to. Here we go. Bad Friends, obviously. That's probably my number one podcast right now with Andrew and with Bobby Lee. And it's so funny. The banter between those two are amazing. Every episode I've just been laughing to, and it's just a good vibe. So that type of podcast, big fan of. It's become my number one that I've been listening to. Shout out again, if you guys are ever hearing this episode, I will happily be on your show. Or you can come and be on the show and talk about how your guys' paths were to being a comedian, because I know that path is a completely different world. All right, Joe Rogan experience. Love Joe Rogan. Honestly, Joe Rogan was probably the one that got me more into podcasts, listening to his perspective and the guests that he brings on the show. It's great. I feel like I learn a lot. Obviously, a lot of the stuff too is opinionated, and so it's just a good blend of the things of information and opinions, and it's a great conversation between two people. And I honestly actually craft my own show a little bit around that in terms of I just want a conversation with someone about this stuff. The questions will come to me, we'll talk about it, we'll go on some rants, but we'll always bring it back, right? That's the humanistic approach that I want on my show. So, Joe, amazing podcast. Appreciate you. Love listening to your shows as well. And thank you for being the inspiration a bit to this podcast as well. Next one, the Messy Podcast. That one had just started a couple years ago, and it's run by my good friend Jesse. This one tackles mental health and some pretty cool questions that maybe we don't talk about as much in the world. And she also dives a lot into relationships, personal experiences, but the main thing being mental health. So if you guys are about mental health and hearing someone get very vulnerable and just very true with everyone, go ahead and listen to the Messy Podcast. Thank you, Jesse. It's been really cool to hear your show and see how that's starting to grow. And the last one, of course, there was no way I wasn't going to bring this one up. You guys know, diehard Rams fan, you know I'm going to listen to one sports podcast, and that's going to be the, just want to make sure, Locked On Rams podcast. So that one there is run by Doug McCain and Travis Rogers, and those guys are awesome. They also do Los Angeles Dodgers, which we'll dive into that a whole another time. But these two guys, they're so cool. They're so great. They have a lot of information, and it's just a great source for me to listen to all Ram stuff. So that's kind of my own different thing. Just when it comes to sports, is I'll listen to those guys because it's all Rams everything, and that's all I want to hear. Getting ready for the next football season. What have you enjoyed most about the show now that you are a couple of episodes in? What have you enjoyed most about the show now that you are a couple episodes in? I have really enjoyed being able to share people's stories and their journeys. That's what brings me joy. That's what I enjoy the most, when I get to see people and how happy they are after they shoot the episode. I do this little part, if you haven't picked up on at the end, where I ask, how'd you think? What'd you think of the show? And they're usually smiling like, yeah, it was cool. It was great, right? Or, oh my gosh. I love that. I love that because I think they feel too, wow, I got to put my life out there. I got to put my story out there. I got to share that with pretty much the world, whoever listens to this. And they love that. And they want people to engage with them. My good friend Herbie talked about in the first episode of us going through this loneliness epidemic. I could probably have used a better word for that, but we're going through this loneliness epidemic where it's people are more lonely than they have been in years. And that's kind of the con of technology as it advances. We start isolating ourselves a little more. What used to be something that we'd go out and see friends all the time slowly diminishes more and more because now we have cell phones, FaceTime, party chats if you're gaming, Discords, YouTube, all this different stuff that really just sucks us in more than usual, which could navigate away from some great networking opportunities and the ability to meet more people out there. So in my head, I think this is a great way for people to hear another story. This is someone's actual life path and what they've been going through, and have the opportunity to engage with them. Know they're not alone, and these people that are on the show are willing to engage with you. Every episode I put how to get a hold of them. Whether it's email, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it be, there's always a way to get a hold of them. Now, I've mentioned before that if anyone were to come on the show and all they want to do is share their story, that's okay too. But it still provides you a perspective and a story to relate to know you're not alone out there. You're not alone. So I enjoy the most is having people share their stories, tell their accounts with others, and see what they can see, which is, I hope my story touches someone. I hope my story can benefit someone. And I hope they know that I'm out there to talk to in case they need anything, because they would love to share their information and their paths with you. So I enjoy seeing the joy that it brings my guests after we shoot an episode or even sometimes during the episode. And then the best part is when they tell me, oh, hey, this person reached out to me. It's really cool. That's awesome. Literally, the vision of the show is coming to fruition. So that's how I would answer that question. What advice do you have for those who are just starting their own podcast or business? I don't have any experience starting my own business, but I would say I would think they're both pretty similar. Putting an idea to work, putting an idea to real life takes planning. It may not be perfect to start. It usually never is, but it does take a bit of planning to get it going, right? So when you look at, okay, for me, right, here's my idea. I want to do this podcast. What is it going to take for me to start this podcast? I had a whole plan. In fact, I'll probably post eventually at some point my office setup, and I have this big old whiteboard, and it's just filled with writing, with Sharpie writing. And it was all my ideas that I put on that board and where I needed to start, what I need to look into, what software do I have to start with, what mic should I look into, how much is the investment of mics, how much is the investment of the seats that I want to provide a comfy atmosphere, how do I get a logo started, how do I start my branding? There's so many different things that go into it. So you start putting kind of this not a word bubble, but a free form idea template is, I guess, what I would call it, right? A blank piece of paper, a blank piece of poster board, and you start going at it. You start writing things down, just come to mind, and then eventually you start putting a little map together, right? Very similar to even how some authors do it. They put their raw thoughts and ideas all over the place, start circling around, start doing a roadmap. This is what I need to focus on first. This is what I have to tackle second. This one come later on. Knowing that you do everything the best way that you can to execute this plan, this idea, but know that it's not going to start off perfect. There's no way it can, right? So for anyone who is looking to start a podcast or start their own business, one, make a plan, right? I call it an attack plan. How do you make this a reality? Two, be resilient. There were some things I came across where I said, oh my gosh, like, is this gonna just completely knock off the whole idea? Some of it being expensive and some of it being, how do I put this together in my own office? I started from scratch. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. And I'm not really the best with technology, believe it or not. So it was a big learning curve for me. But I figured it out, and I'm slowly getting better and better. And you're getting to witness that, which makes, again, the show unique. Because you're seeing me develop and get better and better in terms of the quality, the presentation with the podcast. And I think that's pretty cool, personally. So resiliency, to understand that not everything's gonna be perfect and you still gotta go through it. To be honest, the resiliency piece is probably the most important. And I say that because you may find yourself now, as you're trying to get this together in real life, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to go through all this. And you're either going to continue with this or you're going to break away from it because you realize this really isn't me, right? For me, it was. So I continued down that. So resiliency knowing the execution's there. There's going to be some issues sometimes, not going to be perfect, but you're going to push through and figure it out. The third is dealing with doubts, which could tie into resiliency. I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that there were some doubts before I even started my first solo episode. I remember as I'm about to do it, obviously feeling nervous. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be talking in front of the camera. And I thought, you know what? Maybe people are going to think this is ridiculous or it's a bit of a joke. You get these weird thoughts sometimes. You get some really weird doubts and thoughts in your brain that you start thinking about, what are others going to think of me? And that shouldn't matter. If you love it and you see the potential with your idea and you're passionate about it, which goes with loving it, go for it. Who cares? What does it matter what they think? I've got people that I love and care about in my life right now that have loved seeing this come to fruition. And that's what matters to me. And whoever can engage with the show, right? Whoever finds value in the show, that's what matters to me. If you were to look at my show and say, "Ugh, I don't know about this. It's kind of weird you're putting yourself out there." Okay, cool. All right. That's your thought on it. I don't care. I haven't gotten that yet. I don't know if that's secretly happening. Who knows? But I'm just really thankful to be able to be doing this. And I'm happy about it. So facing the doubts head on and realizing that it doesn't matter. It's about what you think. And if you were to hold value of what others think that are close to you, then you go off that, the people that you love and care about the most. And that's how I would do it. That's how I would start a podcast or business. That's how I started my podcast. Attack plan, resiliency, and facing your doubts. So for anyone that's looking to start their own, maybe follow that framework. Though in today's world, there's plenty of resources out there and people to connect with, if they haven't been on the show already, to talk through it. Alrighty. I think here we have hit all of the questions that people have asked. So I'm going to share something that wasn't asked, but just for the show. I had thought about what is something, and I take this actually from my friend Jessie, who had posted on her podcast, the Messy Podcast story on Instagram. She said, hearing an episode and feeling a little cringy on how many times I say the word like. I had messaged her back and I had told her, I feel you 100%. In my first episode, and I'm going to say this now, and I'm sure people are going to re-listen to it and be on the same page and say, oh yeah, that actually happens a lot. And it's those things that if you don't point out, usually you go by just fine, right? No one picks up on it. But just to have a confession here, I am not a big fan of how many times I say, in that first episode, I think every word that came after another sentence would be, well, so anyways, and yeah, and it irked me so much. And I sat there, I'm like, what can I do about this now? Obviously, the content of the message of that episode is what's important, right? And I think people see through that. But it's a good opportunity for me also to be telling myself, maybe slow down the speech a little bit, right? Don't try to get things out so quick that you have to have a space you're like, and like sometimes. Like will still happen. But again, you're seeing live time, a journey. You're seeing myself, not only just with the quality of the show, the visualization, the sound, but how I also deliver content get better over time. It's all for the betterment of everything with this podcast. And honestly, my personal life too. Better speech, better way to talk to people. So thought I'd just throw that out there because even though it wasn't a question, it was something I wanted to share with you guys on just something I had picked up as I'm doing these episodes. And I think I got more of the idea of sharing this after I spoke to a buddy last night who had told me they really enjoyed seeing how things have progressed and has personally told me, I think you're doing even better than you started on talking with people and how you flow the conversation pretty organically. And when you guys even go on rants and bring it back in. So thank you, bud. I appreciate that. That was really good feedback for me. And that made me feel really good about that. So yeah, I'm doing what I was telling myself I wanted to do with this show as we're moving forward. With all those questions answered, I just want to thank your guys' time today to listen to me on this. And I appreciate the questions out there. There's so much, I don't think I'll ever get sick of it. I really don't. There's so much appreciation that I have and love for everyone that has been watching the show and has really been engaging in it. And for the ones that have come on the show, thank you guys so much. Your time has been so valuable to me, and I have loved putting your story out there. As I start putting more clips together to put on YouTube, to put on TikTok now, which is still a rough one for me to start, but I think it's going to be great to put more videos out there, and Instagram. I really hope that your story touches other people like I envision it to, and how you envision it too. I think they can learn a lot from your guys' life path. So thank you guys again. And for any future guests coming on who are about to reach out to me and say, hey, can I also come on the show? Let's do it. We can't get enough of different positions on this show and stories. One of the things someone asked me was, Wei, what do you do if you have 3 different sales people that want to be on the show and you're a salesperson? What if you had 4 or 5 different nurses? Are you scared that's gonna go a little stale? Absolutely not. Are you kidding me? Everyone's different. Everyone in this life is different. 4 nurses who do the same job all can come from different paths. And even if they were to have similar paths to doing it, they all knew they wanted to be nurses, they all went to college, they all went to the same college, they all took the same classes, they all went to the same place. They're not 4 identical people. They're still different. They have their own thoughts and their own ways that they attack stuff during their path to being a nurse. Every single one of them. So of course I want you on the show. It will never be stale how many different positions I have on this show, different careers, because the life journey is always going to be different. There's always going to be a variation, and the person behind that life path is different. There's some people who are more energetic and outgoing in a certain position than others, and that's okay. Because guess what? There are people that can relate to both sides of someone being more extrovert and introvert in this similar position. So for me, if you want to be on the show, don't ever worry about how many positions we've had of your certain career or lifestyle already on the show. Come on the show. It's good for you to share your story. It's great for your own personal brand, which is what is up with everything in today's world. It's all about how you want to put yourself out there, because I think there's some great things that can come from you being able to share your story, share who you are as an individual, and show that to others out in the world. To show that there's so many things people can relate to. So I think for anyone who wants to come on to the show, hit me up. Otherwise, again, just a lot of appreciation, support for everyone who has been reaching out to me and watching the show. I hope to continue to deliver an amazing show for you guys to hear and continue to bring relevance to you guys listening to this, something you get out of this, which is the perspective, the story, and a networking opportunity. On some last thoughts again here, thank you guys so much to the band Hannah. You guys are awesome. I really hope to bring you guys on the show sometime because I'm loving the music. By the way, they got a new cover on Knocking on Heaven's Door. It's classic. Take a listen to that. It's on their Spotify page, YouTube, Bandcamp I mentioned, and Apple Music. Really cool. Congrats, guys. That's an awesome cover you guys are doing. So shout out again to that band, Hannah, there. Give them a listen. Obviously, all their information is always on my page of my show because they do the intro and outro music for me. And then again, another shout out here to the XYZ Studio and Zeke. Thank you so much for letting me shoot the show here. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. And thank you again for listening. Let's talk about this way. Let's see how it goes from here. Catch y'all.
That's good.